Hello viewers and welcome to my new video. Today's video is part 2 of the series on how to be in a band, and this time I'm going to be talking about finding band members. So in the first part of this series I was talking about having a common vision as a band, and that actually links directly to finding your ideal band members. And don't get me wrong, there is always to be some kind of a compromise, like in any group whatsoever. If you form a team of any kind, you always have to compromise. However, what you need to remember is that there are certain things that you need to have, you need to be certain of, that you are not willing to compromise on, and you need to be very clear on what characteristics you are looking for in your ideal band members. These days, with the age of the internet, it's relatively easy to find members for a band. And I've successfully managed to do that a number of times actually for various bands, and I actually find this process really exciting, when finding people for my new project or for my new band. Actually, the scene that I've been a part of has been quite hermetic in a way. There were times when you basically could just speak to people who you knew, who maybe played in different bands that you were aware of, or maybe shared a stage with in the past, and you effectively could just approach these people and ask them if they would be prepared to join your own band or perhaps start a new project with you. However, these days you also have other options. There are websites, for example, Join My Band is a very good example of a website where musicians effectively advertise themselves. So you've got musicians who are looking to join a band, and you also have bands who are looking for musicians, or sometimes you have individual people who just want to sort of form a band with somebody else, and they have their own ideas. Perhaps they are a songwriter looking for some kind of collaboration and things like that. So there's quite a lot of people advertising themselves on websites such as Join My Band and others. So it's always useful to have a look, and actually maybe regularly having a look, because people add themselves quite often. So if you don't find what you're looking for, it's worth returning every couple of days and actually checking what's out there. When looking for band members, it's really good to maybe prepare a list. It's almost like advertising for a job. If you were putting an advert out for a job, you would specify essential and desirable criteria, and you would do a job specification, person specification, things like that, in which you would clearly outline what you were looking for in that person. And I think to a certain degree you could apply a similar approach to finding your band members. For example, if there are things that you cannot live with, I don't know, someone might be a heavy drinker or a drug user, or things like that. You might not tolerate this. You might be a believer that you only play sober, when you're on stage, and that kind of thing. And if somebody, for example, likes to have a drink, that might not work for you. Vice versa, if you're a party animal and the other person is actually really quiet and perhaps likes to go to bed at 9 o'clock in the evening, then perhaps you're not a good match as band members. The ability to play the instrument well is essential in my books, but it's not everything. Somebody could be a fantastic musician, but what's really important when you actually are looking for your band members, or you want to join a band, and you need to gel on a personal level. So this is very important, that there won't be any personality clashes, that you will actually become friends effectively, because a band is like the second family really. It's good to have sometimes perhaps a trial period. Maybe if you get a new band member in your band, or you form a band with somebody, perhaps it's a good idea to give yourself some time to actually see if it's going to work between you. Certain things, such as having your own transport, might be very important to you. So you want your drummer, for example, to be able to transport a drum kit to the venue or to the place where you rehearse, that kind of thing. So if that's a necessity, then you need to be very clear from the start, and you shouldn't be then going with somebody who doesn't have their own transport. As I said in part 1 of this series, having a common vision is very important. So you need to have a conversation with your prospective band members to actually understand what they want out of it, right? So, for instance, what is their vision of the band? How far do they want to take your band? What style of music do they really want to play? Because again, things like that might cause frictions further down the line if they're not ironed out, if they're not explained, if they're not communicated from the get-go. This might cause you problems further down the line. What's also really important in a band, and that all depends, how big a band is, whether you run everything by yourself, for example, because if you are a completely DIY band, for example, and this has been my experience for majority of my time when I've been in bands, has been that we've been doing majority of the things by ourselves, perhaps apart from booking actual gigs, because we've been liaising with promoters to get who would book a venue and who would book an actual gig that we would play. So we weren't actually booking our own gigs majority of the time. It has happened on occasions, but it wasn't a regular occurrence for us. But effectively, what's really important is that you set and agree on roles and responsibilities between band members. So for example, one person might be responsible for money keeping, a sort of band accountancy, that kind of thing. The other person might agree to be responsible for your merch, so i.e. ordering your merch, looking after it, things like that. If you don't have a specific merch person, to stand with your merch or sell your merch. Again, if you don't, you may want to split those responsibilities between all band members if that's your wish or that's your desire. Another important thing is who's going to be booking your gigs, as in, if you don't have a booker or you're not with a booking agency, obviously someone has got to do it. Someone has got to send all these messages to the promoters, contact people for gigs and things like that. So again, agree between each other who's going to be doing that. Who's going to be the driver if you don't have a separate driver? If you're just a DIY band going to gigs on your own, who's going to be driving? Are you going to be splitting those responsibilities between each other? Does everybody have a driving license? Do you want everybody to have a driving license and be able to drive? Those are very important things to agree early on. Storage, for example. Who is going to be storing items? So you don't have a separate storage and you all live separately. Who is going to be storing your merch? Who is going to be storing your gear, music gear? Who is going to be storing anything else that belongs to the band? Those things are also important that you need to agree upon. Who is going to be running your social media, for example? Who is going to be doing your promotional activity? That's another thing. If you don't have a manager, if you don't have those people, the whole team behind you, then you need to be mindful of these things, and you need to dispatch those roles and responsibilities to your band members and to yourself. Time is very important. So are your band members willing to spend enough time, the required amount of time, and invest their time and energy into the band? Often playing an instrument and writing songs is not everything, especially in today's world, and you have to do a lot more these days, as I said, to be able to promote, push your band further, especially in the early stages, until you get to a point where you can have a manager, you can have your own booker or a booking agency, or you can have a wider team of people around you. A lot of people that you will be doing, you will have to do it all by yourself. So it's important that your band members that you find are also committed to doing these things in order to take your band to the next level. You might be getting on with somebody on a personal level, on a kind of, oh, let's go out and have some fun level, but actually when it comes to the band, it depends what it is. Like I said, if your band for you is just to have a bit of fun, really on the side, that's fine. But if you treat it a bit more seriously and you want to take it a bit further than that, then you need to have committed people in the band who will be able to prepare to put time and effort into it. Ultimately, when it comes to finding your band members, it's important that they can play an instrument well, that they share common vision with you, they're going in the same direction, they want to play the same style of music as you, they agree on principles of the band, and they are likable, they are somebody that you get on with, and they are prepared to put their time, energy and effort into the band and into the success of the band, and they are prepared to take on certain roles and responsibilities, and that they meet the requirements that you need, such as having their own transport, driving license, being able to get to places, being able to store items, things like that, because you all have to get together, sort of combine your resources in order for this to be able to function properly. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video and this information is helpful to you if you're just starting out, or even if you've already been in a band or two, but actually have made some mistakes, just like I have made, and based on those mistakes I can now give people better advice of what I wouldn't do, for example, or how I would approach it, or how I will approach it this time when I, for example, look for musicians to tour with. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so, and click on that bell, so that way you will be notified every time I post a new video, and give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.